Number 4, I understand that our current production is not the best it can be, but I would like to see but I would like to see if we have done the math for proving that everybody can have a high standard of living. I want to see here your scientific proof of what you are saying. Sure, Zeitgeist 3 is going to go into this in much more detail. It's also annotated in the Activist Orientation Guide quite well. The first 2 levels, the first 2 points, is energy and food. Energy is of absolute abundance. Any physical motion essentially generates energy. The ignorance of society in regards to energy is really the issue. Nano solar panels, nanotechnology-based solar panels will eventually coat every single roof of every single structure to generate its own energy. We know that we can use geothermal, we can use wind, wave, tidal. There's an immense heat differentiation. In fact, I could, not differentiation, I can't remember the technical term for that. I can ask Jacques about that. There's many different elements that people aren't aware of that can generate energy. I mean, everything is energy if you really think about it. It's simply a matter of the technology to harness it. There's no loss of energy. There's no such thing. So the first thing to realize is we have pure energy abundance, and energy is the fuel of society, so to speak. Everything is based initially on energy. The second issue is food. Do we have enough food? No, the question isn't do we have enough food. The question is, are we harnessing the technology to create enough food? You could build skyscrapers. This is probably a primitive way to do it. I don't think Jacques would advocate this, but I'm just going to throw it out there as a general example. You could build skyscrapers off the coast, and you could funnel in organic matter from the oceans into hydroponic systems, and you could grow 1,000 feet high buildings. You could grow huge complexes of food in 1,000-foot tall structures that there's really no end to. The food issue is really not relevant whatsoever. Not to mention when you get into food that can be grown in vitro, and of course when you get into nanotechnology, it could change everything. But you can push all of that aside. The idea we don't have enough food is not the question. We're just not using the technology to create the food. Food is, of course, held scarce in this system for profit as well. And even more frighteningly, you have companies, extreme capitalist distortions like Monsanto, that have all of these incredible ways to genetically modify things to maintain scarcity, such as seeds that only have one generation. These are terrible advents. The third issue to consider is minerals, and this is where the question mark goes up a little bit, because no one's assessed the carrying capacity of the earth as far as minerals. We know that we haven't utterly run out of anything, and the real question isn't the mineral abundance, it's the management of what we've already used and what we do know is available. The management of our current resources is absolutely hideous, because there's no real focus on recycling, for one. In the future, everything would be made to break down. It would be built in. It would be known what the breakdown process is. In the advanced future, you'll have nano disassemblers that can break down absolutely anything. Landfills, garbage dumps, these will not exist in the future in any real way, because things will be made to be reused as best as they can, as technology will allow. Even perishable items can be manifest as fuel. This has been known. There's a few processes out there that are doing this now. In fact, there was an individual I met in the UK that has a company that does this. I don't have the information on me at the moment, but it was quite impressive what he showed me of turning waste, in fact, all sorts of forms of waste, into fuel, into biofuel. So it really comes down to management. If we focus on the intelligent management of resources initially, recycling, and then, of course, there's the difference between property and access in the culture at large. Instead of everybody having a car personally that sits in their driveway or in a parking lot for the majority of the car's existence, they have access to automobiles through advanced technology, very similar to these zip cars you see in New York City and major cities. If you want it, you call it, it gets there by GPS. You don't have to drive it. There's already examples of cars that can be driven by GPS now, and you use it, and then it returns itself to a central hub and goes to whomever might need it. The amount of waste and duplication in our current system will be gone in a system that's designed for access, not property, and that is a massive point. I will point these things out in more mathematical detail as far as the mineral issue. That's really the only issue, the raw material issue, to be more specific. But You know, even if we ran out of a particular raw material, we could mine space if need be. Meteorites have a tremendous amount of raw materials and of immense size, too, depending on where you go. So there's a lot more options than I think most people realize. If we run out of space, we can colonize the oceans and we can go vertical. Really, we haven't come close to a critical. The only crisis is the crisis of ignorance and the crisis of the system itself, which perpetuates scarcity to maintain the established order. We are not even close to the verge of having restrictions on the public in the sense that often many people consider today. Okay, I hope I answered that question well.